Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's kick off today's video with a story in which our OP's team gets micromanaged into a snail's pace only to turn a 3-day concrete cutting job into a 3-week, $200,000 payday by obeying every safety nitpick to the letter. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Client said we were working too fast. About 2 years ago, I was working a concrete cutting job for a major facility. I work at a small, highly specialized company, just 15 of us, but we're the go-to crew in our region for concrete cutting and removal. I was the first hire, and the owners, Brad and Cody, are both seasoned pros who still hit the field with us and can outwork anyone on the crew. This job was a big one, cutting and removing a large, cracked outdoor slab. Routine stuff for us, but still a large-scale project. We were awarded the contract directly, no bidding, because the client wanted it done right and done fast. They even requested extra saws and equipment just in case, which they agreed to pay for by the hour. The start of the job was already shaky. We were told to arrive at 6:30 a.m. for a safety meeting, but the facility staff didn't show up until 9, with no explanation or apology. That's when we met John, the guy overseeing the project. He mentioned that staff from their side would be watching us throughout the workday. Weird, but whatever. We got to work and made serious progress, about a third of the project completed by day 1. But the entire time, there were at least 25 people just standing around watching us like it was a live performance. We joked they should set up bleachers. Still, we were making great time. Then they cut us off at 4 p.m. sharp so everyone could go home. Despite the late start and the need for speed, they seemed in no rush. We figured we'd still finish in 3 days. The next morning, Brad got an email from John's team saying we were operating in an unsafe manner by running multiple machines at once and asked us to slow down. The kicker? We'd done everything by the book. We'd roped off danger zones, posted signage, used cones, and taken all necessary precautions. They even claimed we hadn't made their observers feel safe, despite the fact that their own employees were the ones standing around. Brad wasn't thrilled. We arrived for the next safety meeting, and John casually tried to wave us through. Brad stopped him and said, "Let's be clear. Are we too fast or too unsafe for you?" John mumbled something about people watching too closely. Brad just nodded and said, "From here on out, we'll go slow. If anyone crosses the line, we'll shut it down for a safety meeting." And so we did. Our saws and equipment have variable throttles, and we dialed everything down to the slowest setting. Work that normally takes 20 minutes now took hours. Every movement from the excavator or skid steer was slow, methodical, and deliberate. Start, stop, pause, repeat. As soon as John stepped over the safety line to talk to us, Brad called a 1-hour shutdown. It happened 3 times that first day and 8 times in total. None of the other staff ever crossed the line, only John. He became increasingly flustered, asking why we weren't as efficient as day 1. Brad just calmly reminded him that we were following the email's direction and keeping the site safe. Instead of finishing in 3 or 4 days, it took us 3 weeks. The facility director eventually came out to see why things were dragging. We showed him the email and explained the situation. He just shook his head, said he couldn't stand working with John, and told us to make sure we billed them fully. Turns out John's performance bonus was tied to the success of the project, and it was clear this wasn't helping him. The director also confirmed that all the extra equipment John asked for, bill it. He wanted to make sure we got paid in full. Brad and Cody weren't shy about it either. Every saw, truck, and machine we had on site was billed hourly. By the end of it, what should have been a $45,000 job turned into about $200,000. Brad and Cody gave me a $20,000 bonus. It was a win for our company and one of the most satisfying projects I've ever been a part of. Cody's always had a saying, "We're not trying to retire off one job. We treat the customer fair, but fair isn't always cheap." After the facility director gave us the green light to invoice as needed, Cody looked around and grinned. "Well, boys, maybe we are retiring off this one." It was a joke, of course, but after 10 years of knowing him, I'd never seen him look so satisfied. Neither had I. Some people really do boggle the mind. Stop getting in the way and let the professionals do what they do. They know what they're doing. That's why they're professionals. And our second story. Delivery driver demanded I unload his truck. So long story short, I work at a factory and part of my job involves doing deliveries and pickups. One of my near daily drop-offs is to one of our local distributors. These guys have a fleet of vans and small trucks that deliver across the city, whereas I stick to customers within a 20-minute radius of our factory. Their warehouse, though, isn't always staffed. All the employees are drivers, so if they're out making deliveries, the building can be completely empty. No big deal. Regular suppliers like me are given the front door code so we can get in and drop off our goods. I'm a licensed forklift operator, so I can unload my ute. That's a pickup truck for the non-Aussies reading this. Drop everything off neatly and be on my way without bothering anyone. Well, yesterday was one of those days where I showed up and the place was empty. I unlocked the door, opened the roller shutter, and got to work unloading my ute using their forklift. About halfway through, a delivery truck pulled up and parked. The driver rolled down his window and immediately barked, "Oi, mate, unload me, will you?" I looked up and said, "Sorry, I don't work here. I'm just finishing up with my own delivery." He scoffed and insisted I unload his truck, said he wasn't licensed to use a forklift and needed me to sign for the delivery too. I explained again that I didn't work there and couldn't sign anything on their behalf. I'm comfortable unloading my own delivery. I know what's on my truck and how it's packed, but I'm absolutely not taking responsibility for someone else's load. If anything gets damaged, it's on me, and no thanks. But he wasn't having it. He launched into a full-on rant about how kids these days are lazy and don't want to work, all while I'm actively working, unloading a truck. Then he throws out the classic, "I'll get you fired" threat and claims he's mates with Greg, the owner of the distribution company. Right, you're such close pals with Greg but don't even know how his operation works? Totally believable, mate. At this point, I was done arguing. I told him one last time I wasn't going to do it, then walked inside, finished unloading, shut the roller door, and locked up behind me. That really set him off. He tried to block my ute in with his truck, but the genius misjudged the angle. I had more than enough room to slip out around him. On my way back to the factory, I called Greg and gave him a heads up, told him what happened and how this guy was throwing his name around like some sort of magic pass. Greg just sighed and said, "Yeah, I'm around the corner. I'll be there soon." Update. I swung by the warehouse yesterday after work to drop something off, and Greg was there. No mention of the incident, just normal chit-chat. How's your day? You busy? Business is good? So I guess that's that. No drama, no awkwardness. Pretty sure Greg saw right through that guy's BS and handled it. Some people just can't stand hearing no, even when they're totally in the wrong. Yeah, seriously, man showed up to a warehouse, one which did not always have staff on hand, without any kind of backup plan at all for getting his crap off the truck. Even then he could have just left and called ahead later to know when someone would be in. I'm not even a trucker, and this crap doesn't sound that hard. Guy needs to grow more than half a brain cell. And our last story. Surrounded by HOA, but not part of it. We used to live on the very edge of our HOA, literally the last street, almost forgotten unless someone needed something to complain about. For years, we tolerated their petty nonsense, fines for mailbox paint chips, warnings for lawn lengths, and of course the never-ending passive-aggressive notes about community standards. But we all knew there was something weird about our placement. Unlike the inner streets that relied on the HOA-maintained community well, our street had an option for municipal water. One vague line in the bylaws hinted that HOA membership was contingent on being connected to the community well. One night at a neighbor's barbecue, after yet another heated HOA meeting about the audacity of someone planting sunflowers, we started talking. "Wait, did you say the bylaws mention the well specifically?" my neighbor Greg asked, flipping a burger like he was tossing a legal grenade. "Yeah, if you're connected to the community well, you're under HOA jurisdiction. That's the line," I replied. We all exchanged looks. That was the spark. Within weeks, we'd formed what I jokingly called the Exit Committee. 44 of us, nearly every home on the street, banded together. We contacted a local attorney who confirmed what we hoped. If we disconnected from the HOA's well and switched to municipal water, the HOA had no legal claim over us. That's when things got spicy. HOA Karen, because of course the president was a Karen, found out about our efforts and stormed down the street like she was on a suburban crusade. "You're going to destroy the community," she shrieked during a meeting we weren't even supposed to attend. "No, Karen," I said calmly, "we're liberating it." "You'll ruin property values. You'll be outsiders. How dare you undermine the structure that keeps this place in order?" My friend Sam chimed in. "You mean the same structure that fined my pregnant wife for a wreath being too festive?" Karen turned bright red. "This is treason." "It's legal," I shot back, "and it's happening." We found a government grant that subsidized the cost of switching to city water, negotiated bulk pricing with the local plumber and the lawyer, and brought the per-house cost down from $12,000 to $3,000. Every house on our street signed on. Then came the real slap in the face. We worked with the city council and public works. Turns out the city had been trying to encourage homes to switch to municipal water anyway. They were thrilled to help with the street work. I still remember the day the construction trucks rolled in. Karen stood at the entrance to the neighborhood with her arms crossed, watching her empire crumble one trench at a time. "You can't just leave," she shouted at the workers. One of the crew chiefs, a guy named Mike, laughed and said, "Ma'am, we're with the city. We go where the permits tell us to." And just like that, our street was free. But it didn't end there. Word spread. People on other edge streets started asking questions. We told them what we did, who we talked to, how we applied for the grant. Soon others started disconnecting from the well, digging their own or hooking into the municipal system. The HOA map started to look like a block of Swiss cheese. Karen tried to stop it with emergency meetings and legal threats. She even printed flyers that read, "Save our community, stop the dissenters." But she couldn't do anything. The law was the law, and we had found the loophole. Now I live surrounded by HOA territory on 3 sides and across the street from another HOA, but I'm not a part of any of them. No more arbitrary fines, no more newsletter lectures, no more Karen. Read your bylaws, guys. You never know what golden ticket to freedom might be buried in the fine print. So let me get this straight. You left the HOA for the cost of paying for water utilities? That's amazing. I'd rather get city water and not have to worry about the HOA BS. Good on you, OP. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.